Hey guys, it's John, back with another video. To those of you who tuned into my first video, I appreciate the support. It means so much to me. Thank you so much. And today I have 4 news stories from this past week that I wrote about. And yeah, let's get into it. I'd love to share them with you. Okay, so the first story I want to talk about in this video is one I wrote at the start of the week about the 1974 on-air suicide of Christine Chubbuck, who was a news reporter based out of Sarasota, Florida, and was the first person in history to attempt suicide on live television. Chubbuck was 29 years old at the time of her suicide, and she ran her own news show called Suncoast Digest, which basically focused on community-driven stories within Sarasota. On July 15th, 1974, Chubbuck came into work that morning and told her colleagues that she needed to do a news segment on her 9 o'clock show, which was uncommon, seeing as though it was more of a friendly, conversational, community-driven segment. But she insisted that she had a written out news segment that she had to address. Though her colleagues were concerned, Chubbuck still went on air that morning and read her news segment at the start of Suncoast Digest. After reporting several stories and a bit of a mishap with the broadcast, Chubbuck announced that there would be exclusive coverage of an attempted suicide, at which point she pulled out a .38 caliber revolver and shot herself in the back of the head. After she shot herself, the screen quickly faded to black, and both the viewing audience and a lot of her colleagues were left bewildered and wondering whether or not it was a prank. A lot of them just simply did not know what they had just witnessed. They didn't know that there was even a gun because it happened so quickly. So it was just very chaotic. Chubbuck was transported to a hospital and died 14 hours later, becoming the first person to die by suicide on live television. Chubbuck had written about the shooting in the script before she went on air, writing a third-person narration for the broadcast after she shot herself. One of her colleagues later remarked that a few days before shooting herself, she made a joke about killing herself, which he brushed off, but later realized was serious. Both Christine's personal life and her tragic death have been portrayed in films such as Christine and Kate Plays Christine, and her death serves as one of the darkest moments in the history of television broadcasts. The next piece I want to talk about is one that I wrote about Taylor Swift's live show in Kennebunkport, Maine in August 2010, when she was just 20 years old and I was just 7 years old. The concert was tied to the release of the music video for the song Mine off of Speak Now, which was filmed in the local area of Kennebunk and Kennebunkport. The concert was at St. Anne's Episcopal Church in Kennebunkport, Maine, which is right on Ocean Avenue overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. Just a beautiful, beautiful scene. And over 800 people showed up to the concert, myself and my family included. The Bush family was even on hand, for those of you who do not know, which I'm sure is many of you. George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, the entire Bush family has a private estate about a mile down the road from St. Anne's Episcopal Church in Kennebunkport, and their residence is called Walker's Point, and so they were on hand for the concert. I have such vivid memories of watching Taylor perform up there when she was just 20 years old. I vividly remember one of the cameramen picking me up and putting me on his shoulders because I was so small I couldn't see her. And he put me on his shoulders, and I'll never forget her singing Love Story. And I just thought, wow, this is like the most beautiful moment I've ever experienced. She was beautiful in her bright red dress and cowboy boots and curly, dirty blonde hair, ocean hair, I like to call it. And her voice was just so pristine with the ocean backdrop. It was just such a magical, magical experience. Of course, now Taylor Swift is probably the biggest musician on the planet. She dominates the charts, the market. Her whole life is on the world stage. But at the time, she was just 20 years old, and I was just 7. And now I'm 23 years old. And to be able to say that I saw her with just over 800 people before she was big, and she was still just a country star, it's a really special memory of mine. The next piece I want to talk about is Roman Polanski's 1968 horror film Rosemary's Baby, starring Mia Farrow. The film was based on Ira Levin's 1967 novel of the same name, and for context, it was released 8 years after Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Though the film is based in Manhattan, it was filmed primarily in Los Angeles throughout 1967, and it features a stellar cast including Mia Farrow, John Cassavetes, Ruth Gordon, and Sidney Blackmer. The film was a tremendous success, grossing about $30 million in the box office on about a $3 million budget, which is amazing when you think about it, for a horror film especially. Ruth Gordon won the Best Supporting Actress award from both the Academy and the Golden Globes. The film has also been preserved in the Library of Congress's National Film Registry. And listen, I know that Roman Polanski is a very controversial person and director, but his films are brilliant, they are pieces of art, and everybody should give them a try. For the last piece I want to cover, this is one I wrote about Penny Smith, who is a famous rock photographer who took the famous London Calling album cover photo for The Clash. On September 20th, 1979, The Clash were set to play a gig at the Palladium in New York City, and Penny Smith was the band's photographer for that US tour, which was their first. In a very spontaneous moment, Paul Simonon, the bassist for The Clash, was so angered by the fact that fans were not allowed to get out of their seats that he turned towards Smith, who was to the side of the stage, lifted his bass guitar in the air, and smashed it down upon the stage. Smith, who wanted to capture a good picture of Simonon, took a step back and tried to get him in the frame and in focus. As Simonon raised his bass in the air, Penny Smith took a step back, trying to get a photo, and accidentally took a picture of him as the bass was coming down. And it would become, arguably, the greatest photo taken in the history of rock music. Penny Smith initially hated the picture. She found it too grainy and out of focus. However, Joe Strummer, the frontman of The Clash, loved the photo so much that he immediately selected it to be the album cover of the band's next LP, which would be London Calling. Smith's photo now has gone down in history as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, rock and roll picture of all time, just showing the pure energy and vulnerability and emotion that comes with the genre. In 2024, Penny Smith was appointed a member of the Order of the British Empire for her services to photography. Okay, so now it's time for my recommendations for you guys. For my song of the week that I want to recommend to you, I recommend Fuck Everyone by Lola Young off of her 2025 album, I'm Only Fucking Myself. A lot of expletives. For my album, I recommend dream pop duo Dream Ivory's 2017 debut EP, Dream Ivory, which is self-titled. And for my film, I recommend Jim Jarmusch's 1984 comedy film Stranger Than Paradise. Okay, so once again, thank you guys so much for watching this video and for reading my pieces. It means so much to me. For those of you who want to read the pieces from this week, they will be linked in the description below. And yeah, thank you guys so much, and please tune in next week and continue to read and watch. Thank you.